Bom, pessoal, vou começar a falar em inglês, tá? Vamos torcer para que o tradutor ajude. So, Shunan, we're going to start right now. I just gave all the instructions to everybody. So, everybody, welcome. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to Shunan. It's like 1 p.m., I think, in New York, right?
Yes.
And, okay, so I'm very, very happy to have you here. I don't know if most of my students know, but Shunan, it's a great tea reference in the world. She's very knowledgeable about tea, and she makes a great work in the United States and all around. So I'm going to stop talking and let her present herself. I already received some questions that I think it will work during your introduction. So I'll let you present yourself, and then I'm gonna put these questions right after. Okay, Shunan?
All right. Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, nice to meet everyone. So my name is Shunan Teng, and I founded a tea company called Tea Drunk. We're based in New York City in the United States. We've been around since 2013. So before COVID, every year I would go back to China and spend about 2 to 3 months during the primary tea season and a little bit some more to really live through the whole tea processing stage with the heritage farmers. So I would say a part of my knowledge was definitely accumulated through these hands-on experiences. And we had a tea house in New York City for about 8 years. It was closed last year. Right now, we mostly operate online and wholesale. We do put a lot of emphasis on tea education. So we whenever it's allowed on an annual basis, we'll do like a tea boot camp where we do 40-hour very large tea classes. During COVID, we weren't able to do this full-fledged thing, but still with the help of our friends in Latin America, we're able to do a 20-hour tea class in Guadalajara, Mexico, last year, and earlier this year, we did a 50-hour tea processing course on the tea plantation in Argentina as well. So these are all some great opportunities that definitely have led me to tea lovers on an international basis. So thank you so much, Yuri, for offering this opportunity to connect with folks in Brazil as well. We also have a digital educational platform called Tea Drunk Academy. So we're hoping through that it can reach even broader audience.
Okay, so you guys know that she also have education. You're gonna drink her teas, her amazing teas, but she also teaches about it. And if you have interest after that, I'm gonna put all the links for her website, and she also have a website that I didn't know, but it's Tea Drunk Academy, right? That it's for the educational part.
Yes.
Oh, good.
So on teadrunk.com, it already has a lot of written information about tea. We have a whole section dedicated to it called Learn. Depends on your reading habit. We have some very lengthy essays on each category of teas that you can dive deep into. Or we also have blog posts, which are shorter reads. You can follow our Instagram every day. We kind of try to shout out a little bit, like a snippet of information as well. And Tea Drunk Academy is a little bit more serious. You can also find that link through our main website, teadrunk.com as well. But it basically always have a video and then class study materials, some quizzes to go with it. So it's a full digital course.
Amazing. So some of the people that are here, they already know me. I always like to bring some serious tea education. So I can tell you that Shunan, she does that. Okay, so you have interest. It's amazing to study with her. We're gonna have a little bit of her knowledge today, because we're gonna talk about how did she get into what she's doing right now, working with teas, and let me ask the questions right now, because I think it will suit the conversation. I have one question. It's my question, because I think it's very important for my students to know. What is Tea Drunk's mission? I think it's cool to share that.
Yes. So tea drunk's mission sounds very Chinese. But basically there are two parts. One part is that we want to preserve what human we have achieved this thus far for the height of tea. And that includes the processing methods of tea, the taste that translates into the cultivation method, the preservation of terroir, of culture. And then there's a forward-looking piece as well. We're hoping to expand this height beyond in China, but make it more global. And we want to welcome tea lovers and talents globally to help us elevate this height. And hopefully in my lifetime, what we can do is to build more robust standard and education around tea, so it does not become a victim of the increasing consumerism.
Amazing. I forgot to say that if anyone wants to ask something, just raise the little hand, the virtual hand we have here, or you can write on the chat box and I'll translate. Okay, I still have two questions that will fit here. So Shunan, there's this student that asked me before, he wants to know, how did you start drinking tea? If it's like a family thing, or all in a sudden you say, okay, I'm gonna drink tea now.
Right. So it is a family thing, actually. I grew up in a foodie family, which is a incredible blessing, or a curse. I don't know. So like I spend majority of my money on food and beverages. So eating and drinking has been the main theme my entire life. And our family, not only were very adventurous eaters and drinkers, but also we are a little bit nerdy about the things that we eat and drink as well. So my grandpa, my dad, and my aunt, all three of them were very avid tea drinkers. And so I was kind of just like cultivated by this. And sometimes they'll take me to drink tea with their friends, and I hear their conversation, hearing them discuss why one tea is better than the other, or sometimes they argue about the quality, but also all in all try to bring each other's understand what they're trying to taste, right? So if you think about it, there's this sense of connection with our senses, but it's not as obvious as visual or hearing. Somehow what we taste, which even though it's one of our major senses, and what we smell, is so much harder to communicate with another person than what we actually see and hear. And that brought me more and more interested over the years into the subject, is that I might just have digress into some deeper topic, but basically the aesthetic of taste, right? So because of that cultivation, tea has always been around me growing up. And without me knowing, I already accumulated a pretty good amount of tea knowledge prior to me starting the tea business. And I really appreciate that foundation, which kind of give me the right direction to go into once I committed myself to do this professionally.
Oh, it's so amazing that you already have a family that was worried about the food quality. You know,
Oh,
I
yes.
wish I could have it.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. So, girls, do you want to ask something to Shunan right now? Don't be shy. It's okay. You can ask her.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going. So Shunan, I would love for you to tell us how hard is your job to travel, to find really good teas that connect with your mission, and to bring and sell United States. And I know you distribute to other places, but how was this process, please?
Right. So I think one thing, a question that a lot of the new tea lovers always ask me, which I can see this confusion. So I want to just like assume that this might be a question on your mind as well. And great if it's not, but so I can really bring clarity to what the tea world or the tea culture is like in China. So first of all, China is one of the world's largest tea producing countries, right? So it's not like if you go to China, most likely you will encounter tea no matter where you go. But what that means also is that this is a country with a huge volume of tea, but not all the teas are good, right? So there's no such thing as all Chinese teas are good. In Chinese, we know that as well. So there's hierarchy in the tea. And in this hierarchy of tea, you can assume the majority of them are, for more commercial purposes, for exportation purposes. And even the tea that a tea lover would drink in China sometimes might not be the highest quality either. Oftentimes is because of the price point, right? And that's not a bad thing at all. People tend to have a much healthier relationship with wine, but somehow not with tea. Like one person would be totally okay to say that, hey, I regularly drink like $10, $15 bottles of wine, and no one is trying to pretend that they are always drinking the best, fanciest wine possible. But somehow in the tea world, there's this tendency trying to think that, okay, whatever tea I possess or whatever tea I want to get will be the best tea. But just know it's similar to wine. There's a hefty price tag comes with it. So with that, like kind of the environment I'm describing, that means that there are certain factors that ties to the quality of tea. And those factors is leading by location. So because tea has existed for such a long time in China, so there are certain locations throughout history has already been like verified for its prestige. So there's no such thing as one goes to China and I found a place for tea that no one else had found before. There's just no such thing whatsoever, right? Instead, everyone should look into what historically has already been known as the most acclaimed tea regions of China, and then we go from there. And I would say for any regular tea lover, and this is even me before I started doing tea professionally, there are so many locations that's already well known. Similarly to like wine, like there's Champagne, there's Burgundy, there's Bordeaux. Like you already know these locations on a like at least a namesake level. So there are many of the teas I already know these kind of high level names, but also know that these locations are still really broad. And this is where my travel for tea had really deepened my knowledge, and it brought more specifications to the knowledge of tea. And then so once you go in, I'm going to use Longjing as example, right? So then most well-known Longjing people are like, oh, Xihu Longjing. So in China, no matter if you are a tea drinker or not, people know that, okay, the most well-known or famous Longjing come from Xihu. But Xihu is still pretty sizable. And then it's only once you, but no one found Xihu, right? No one, like our generation, no one is like, oh, no one knew that before and I discovered it. So there's no such narrative around that. And instead, we were drawn by the existing fame. And then once we are drawn to the existing fame, and then one would know that, okay, there's 5 rankings of the terroir, and with the Lion's Peak being the highest ranking. And then when you go there, you probably will discover even more that, the locals actually would say that, okay, the tea that faces this direction is better than the tea that faces another direction. So constantly getting more and more refined with the knowledge. And to a certain level, yes, it will become a knowledge that one would not normally know as a regular tea drinker, but you would probably know as somebody in the industry. But in terms of how I started my travel and go to these places, so going back to my original assumption, oftentimes we were like, how did you find these farmers? How do you know where to go? That was not a question at all, because just like if I want to do sparkling wine, of course, I know I need to go to Champagne. And then, but once you go there, you know that, okay, it's either further divided into this micro terroir, and then some knowledge might not be easily accessible by just reading or internet anymore. This is where you need to find your way around. You navigate by talking with local experts. You steep yourself into the entire process, and you get to know more and more. So sometimes people even, I think, try to talk me up, will be like, oh, she will go to some of the places, like the most secretive places in China to find tea, places that no one goes to. It's just not exist. If there's a place for tea that no one goes to, that just recently discovered, I can almost guarantee you it's not a good place for tea, because it has such a long history in China that already existed doing tea. To just find a random farmer who's also doing tea and try to say that, hey, this is like a boutique farmer that no one know about and they make the best tea, it just kind of yeah, it doesn't really even line up with how tea culture works in China. So hopefully that's a very, very long answer, but I want to be thorough. So yeah, so hopefully that can help you understand just in general how tea culture works in China.
Yeah, I think it's a long answer, but very necessary. So I just going to I'm just want to ask here if everybody is understanding the subtitles, or the audio is okay. Se alguém tiver dúvida, a gente pode falar em português na caixinha. Bom, Shunan, just make sure everybody's understanding. So it's pretty good.
Yes.
There
I
is
test the subtitle for myself when you guys were talking Portuguese to see if the English makes sense. Unfortunately, I don't think it makes sense unless you guys were talking about music. Were you guys talking about music?
no, but
Okay.
you know, it's pretty good. I'm reading here. You know, it's kind of, sometimes I'm just writing sometimes on the chat box, because sometimes there's some words that are missing. So it loses the sequence, but so far pretty good. So let me ask you something that Eloina told me that it's really important. The translation is translating your brand name, Tea Drunk, that for us sounds pretty weird. So I think it's a good idea for you to explain to us what does Tea Drunk means.
Yes. So when Tea Drunk, the name came to me, I was just beyond myself happy. I was like, oh my God, this is the most awesome name ever. I was so convinced that this is a great name. And it was only when I started sharing the name with my American friends, and they're all like, are you sure? It sounds like a negative connotation because drunk is not a good word, and all those things. And so I find myself need to explain why I thought Tea Drunk is such a good name. And I realized the main difference is actually the cultural difference. It's not about explaining what tea drunk as a sensation is, but why tea drunk is such an awesome name to a Chinese person. Because the word drunk in Chinese language does not have a negative connotation. Instead, it's trying to say one's extreme passion and indulgence of something. When you love something so much, you're just like drunken by it, right? No matter if it's like your lover's lips or like this beautiful scenery, right? So that's why Tea Drunk, I felt it fully expressed the romantic journey that I'm trying to embark on and hopefully bring others onto this journey with me, which is a really very romantic journey that help us to discover nature more, right? There's a saying in philosophy, nature is our guide. And I think this is why I'm in this. And Tea Drunk helped me to convey this idea. I want people who come in with full passion, where you kind of almost just like let yourself go and you just want to be drunk in tea, by tea. So that's why the name Tea Drunk.
I think it's an amazing name, actually. And I in this that just said that sometimes there is some concepts that in Chinese they're totally different here on the Western side of the world. I think it happens a lot. So
what does tea drunk mean? Also similar to just basically being alcoholic drug in Portuguese too?
Yes, that's it. So that's why we got a little confused. I did understand since the beginning, but there are some people asking me, some students, they were, oh, but what's this name, you know? But that's okay.
Right.
Everybody got it right now, so it's fine. And
yeah, obviously tea drunk is also a sensation. You know, we can have as we're drinking tea, but that's not that was not the original inspiration why I saw tea drunk was such a great idea.
Don't worry, we got it.
Poetic and romantic and fully expresses my passion. That's why I thought tea drunk was a great idea.
No, that's amazing. And could you tell us how do you feel? Because you have an exchange with the families that produce the teas that you buy.
Yes.
How is this experience to get in touch with these families? How important it is for you, for the tea that you bring?
It's very important, right? I think Tea Drunk is very much a product-oriented company. We do fairly minimum marketing. It might not be the smartest business thing to do, but we do try to let our product speak for itself. So this means that we really need to work with the farmers to ensure that the teas are produced in the standard that we want to sustain. Frankly, even in these most historic tea region, so historic tea region translates into more conservative tea region, and that translates into more skilled farmers as well. But even with that, even the most conservative tea regions, you still see, I would say, some of the bad influences infiltrating the area, including some of the corner cutting and processing so it can increase volume and fasten the turnaround, or introduction of certain cultivars that might not fully express the land or the taste of the tea, but it has higher yield. It can expand the tea season for longer. So, but tea drunk, that's not our goal, as I mentioned in the, our mission statement. We want to sustain the height of it, not the mediocrity of it. So, and granted, not even all the tea farmers in the given tea region, I would say, are the most excellent tea farmers or the most willing to do it, to kind of work with Tea Drunk on shelling out a better product. So obviously certain things are given, like we always pay a premium for our demand. This is give us a right to say and influence, but also I would say farmers do respect expertise. So when you provide rationale and logic of why the tea needs to be produced a certain way, and you have the knowledge that to argue for one way or the other, right? So you're able to taste the difference. So many people come to tea region, they cannot taste the difference. I would say that's a very bad thing, because if you can't tell the difference, then of course somebody is going to sell you the tea that was costed less time and less money, because it's all the same to you. And certainly is sincerity. So in my early days, I almost forgetting about this already because we have such stable relationship with these farmers for so many years already. But in my early stages, I do spend lengthy time to almost discover and test water with different farmers until we found people that we feel that on the skill level and work ethic level and the vision level all lined up with what Tea Drunk wants. And this is how we start to work towards a more stable relationship from there on.
And how hard is to explain about, because tea, like pure tea, is not a real like Western flavor, at least here in Brazil, we are still struggling to make it, happen. So how hard for you is to bring these teas and to sell it and to show people that it's good because it's not part of our culture here, right? So, tell me your experience, please.
Yeah, I would say in my experience, the most successful way to explain are two. One is so if the audience is already a foodie who appreciate finer food and beverages, it's very, very easy, because I would say on a structural level, tea knowledge is no difference from wine knowledge, olive oil, cheese. All of these artisanal products, we're all looking at location, cultivar, so everything about the plant itself, and then processing method. So even though the person doesn't know the specific of tea, but trying to bring them onto the same page with what they priorly already know is immensely helpful. And then oftentimes people also do have a I would say more discerning palate, that even though I always find it so surprising, a lot of wine lovers, even though they like never drank high-end tea before, but they're still able to differentiate the quality applying the knowledge they know in wine. And I have seen that in some of the tea farmers in China using that knowledge applying to wine as well. So going back to, it brought me further into my interest into the aesthetic of taste. Is there a universal appreciation for the aesthetic of taste? But anyway, and the second part is basically I would say people who are geeky in nature or have already developed a very deep interest in any topic. This means that person has already been used to knowing that a thing on the deeper level is not what it looks like on the surface level to the general public, because they have this like geeky mindset. So it's very easy to attract them when you start to explain the reason of why a taste is achieved. I mean, think about there oftentimes I do see people talk about just feelings of drinking tea and stuff like that. Obviously that's, important and matters as well, because, we all come to this world to experience the world how we want to experience the world. However, there are reasons to taste, right? So when we talk about a taste have this presentation and it manifests in this way or that way, there is a reason that you can pinpoint from, once again, location, cultivar, or processing. So when you're able to bring that rationale to it, it's almost like you're trying to prove a point with logic. Then for the like-minded people, I think that's already an automatic draw.
Yeah, everybody did listen, right? It's location, cultivar, process. Remember, that's very important. Okay. We have.
And I just want to say that each of them has like a bunch of factors. So these are category of factors. They're not a single factor. So when we're talking about location, it's not just like this location exists, therefore why. They're like above the ground factors, below the ground factors, the sun, the direction of the sun, the way the sunlight is being dispersed, right? Is it on the top, on the shoulder of the mountain? Like there are many details within each category of factors.
Yeah, no, it's amazing that you think that, because each time some of my students, they ask me something and I don't have the answer, because there is no one answer. So it's very good that you're saying that. So you see, guys, I'm not how do I say that in English? Eu não sou uma chata, tá? It's that how things are.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what's so fascinating, right? If the topic is so simple, like you started on it today and you already know all about it tomorrow, then it's not something worth spending a lifetime. Right? It has to be challenging. But
yes,
like
totally.
You're almost getting it, but you're not quite getting it, and that's what excites you.
Okay. So, hi, you wanna ask her? You can open your mic. Okay.
Sure. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Rihanna. I live in northeast of Brazil. Here we don't have at all the culture of drinking tea from Camellia sinensis. So it's growing. It's something that we are doing a very good and hard job here. Me and also Mariana and Paulo, who is also here watching you. My question is something very curious, something that I'm very curious about is because I don't know if it's because our indigenous culture here, everybody who knows that I love tea, they always ask me, hey, I have this health issue. What tea should I drink? And then I'd like to know, do you have like these kind of consumers who ask you these kind of questions, and how do you deal with that?
Yes, for sure. I mean, that is such a common question. I would say if we had to have like a top 3 most asked questions about tea, this one probably will be on there. I do think it has a lot. It starts with one misunderstanding of what is tea, right? So there, in the Western world, oftentimes tea is a very general beverage, and that can include your mint tea, lavender tea, and even jasmine tea. But in China, though, tea, without further like qualification, when you just say tea, people immediately think tea that's actually made from the actual tea plant, which is Camellia sinensis, right? So it's almost like if you don't further explain it, if it's like a plum wine or apple wine, when you say wine, people just assume you're talking about wine that's made from grapes. So I think there's definitely a little bit of a culture and language barrier that causes misunderstanding. And of course, there are many herbal teas that have various health benefits. Obviously, Chinese medicine is very heavily based on herbs. However, tea itself, though, like the Camellia sinensis itself. So first of all, I think once people understand that framework, they would understand that no matter if it's green tea, yellow tea, white tea, pu'er, all those kind of different categories, because it comes from a single plant. So from category to category, it actually doesn't vary so much in its health benefit. It's only logical that way, right? Like the health benefit of Camellia sinensis and mint tea will be much greater than green tea. And so that's, first of all, that's almost like the first thing that should invalidate this very question. But second part of it is to address, just even if we only talk about tea that's made from Camellia sinensis, how healthy is it? Right. So first of all, tea is a very healthy plant, for sure. It's a healthy beverage, but it's not an elixir. It's not a medicine. So I always use tea to use the comparison of like vegetable to compare with tea. So it's because it's not medicine. So let's say if you're sick and eating an apple is not going to make you unsick. Even though if you make eating an apple every day as a habit, maybe you won't get sick. Right? Tea is the same thing. If you're sick and you're just like, I'm going to drink some green tea, I don't think that's going to cure you of anything. But for the people who make tea a healthy habit of daily life, that could build up your immune system, so you may not get sick in the first place. So I would say tea is as healthy as fruits and vegetables, and that's basically it. I mean, we can go deeper into it and talk about very specific, like the polyphenols in tea, the caffeine tea, the amino acid in tea, and how that applies to, different health realm of our body. But on the overall level, that's basically how I often explain tea to people. And on a cultural aspect, Chinese, we don't drink tea for health reasons. And in fact, it's because whatever medicinal property of tea is so minute. This is why in Chinese medicine, we actually consider tea a healthy drink, because it's not a herb. This might sound counterintuitive, just like a little bit of like a Chinese medicine 101 or well-being 101. We have a saying, if it's medicine, then it's 30% poison. So our ideal body is like in balance right here. And if we're sick, our body is off balance. So if we're here, then you need something kind of here to counter it, and then bring our body to balance. But if you're healthy, then you don't want to keep drinking very strong herbs that can just make your body go back and forth. So oftentimes we consider very, very mild beverages like tea being healthy because it doesn't shift your body so much. It's just like here. So more or less maintain your balance. And it's because tea is such a weak herb. And in fact, it's not classified even as an herb in Chinese medicine. And that's why it's a healthy beverage, because you can drink a large amount of it without putting your body out of balance.
Okay, hi. Now you just tell people to drink tea and everything's gonna be all right.
That's
Yes, yeah, or you can just do that. I mean, there's a pretty well known kind of Buddhism story in Chinese tea culture. Is that when a student keep asking the head monk, the monk teacher, the senior monk questions in this, and all he really answered just go eat tea. Well, because certain regions in China eat tea means drink tea, but let's just say go drink tea. There's like go drink tea, and like no matter what he asks, is always go drink tea, go drink tea. And of the beginning, of course, this person is having anxiety. It's like, hey, it's not even applicable to the question I'm asking. But over time, it starts to cultivate this person, I guess, into Zen, because if you just drink tea, I guess everything will be all right. But that's I guess a spiritual aspect everyone will have to discover for their own.
Yeah, that's true. So anybody else wants to make a question? No? Last chance, people. It's time for Shunan to leave. So, okay, we have here Thaisa. Oh no, Thais is just saying that she agrees with what we have been talking here.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, so you're all good? Can we let Shunan go? She's very busy. Yeah, no, it's your time. We should have been done by
Well,
now.
I enjoy being here, even though I'm mostly just taught.
No, but we love it. That's what we want, right, girls? Isn't that why she's here? Yeah. We want to learn from you.
Well, thank you.
So I think that's it. We are going to taste your wonderful teas now. And Shana, I want to thank you so much for being here today. You're very, very inspirational for all of us, because we are going into this path of the tea. Each one of the people that are here, they're doing something on their way, but they are all related to this tea that we are talking and we love so much. So it's really, really important for us to see that you, with your work, how you do it. So it's something that inspires us, really. Even me, I'm really, really happy that you're here. I'm really glad that I've met girls. I met her in China when I was visiting, walking around. It was pretty fun, actually. I was with Claudio. Let me tell you this story because it's pretty fun. I was walking with Claudio in Wii. And I was, oh, Claudio, do you remember? We saw that YouTube with that person. The brand was Tea Drunk. She was just wandering around here where we are right now. Oh, yes, I remember that. And then we look right in front of us was Shunan. She was making a video, and oh, it's her. She's just right here. So it was really magical, It was, oh my God. And then I went there and talked to Shunan. So it was amazing. So I love to meet you there, and I'm very happy that we developed this, this friendship.
It's destined to be. It is pretty magical, because I was shocked that I thought you guys are just fellow tea lover coming to Wishan. I was like, oh, like, you're also like tea lover, and you're like, we know you, and I was like, oh my God, we do. And I was like very much in shock. Yeah, so it was awesome.
Yeah. So again, Shunan, thank you so much for your time. We'll let you go now. We're gonna taste your wonderful teas, and after that, I'll tell you what these girls and Paulo, there is one man here, what we all thought about it. Okay.
Awesome.
Anybody wants to say anything else? Last time? Okay. No. Okay. So we're just gonna thank you again.
All right.
Shunan, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Have
you,
a
everyone.
wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy the teas and hope I'll see you again.
Sure.
I'll see everyone again.
Soon.
All right.
We hope soon.
Yeah.
Bye bye, Shunan. Thank you.
Bye.